Good evening, everybody, and thanks again for joining me. And tonight, again, I'm doing a what they call we're just doing free for all, basically. So anything you guys want to talk about, we can talk about things of that nature, just to see how see what's on everybody's mind. I figured I would give this a test run and see what everybody thinks. And we'll do that once we get more folks in the live chat, of course. So let me start the recording, and we'll get this ball rolling here and see what we can come up with, huh?
In the restaurant of life, we're putting freedom back on the menu. It's the Missouri Liberty Report with John Williams, working with grassroots organizations and legislatures to make Missouri the freest state in the nation. Let freedom ring.
All right, folks, we're back with another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. And again, this is kind of a free-for-all Friday. Maya suggested this a couple weeks ago, and I thought, well, I didn't have a guest for this Friday, so we'll just throw out some topics and talk it. Now, this week I will make an exception because we see what goes on in cities around the nation or states around the nation, and sometimes you need to talk about this so you avoid your state, like Missouri here, where I live, and becoming like them. More entwined with tyrants and more regulations and losing, watching money just fly out of your wallet or your purse every time you turn around. So, again, there's a myriad of things that we could talk about. And, but I guess the thing is, I want to start off with a couple of different topics. And one, I didn't pull the audio up, so I apologize. But I'm sure everybody's heard about the kid who was in school that had a Gadsden flag patch on his backpack, and the school's like, oh, he has to remove that from his bag or take all of his belongings out of the bag and take them into the class. But that bag, this is the best part. We can't have that in and around the kids. Like the snake on the patch was going to jump off and bite one of the kids. I mean, that's kind of the way they acted. And I'm like, but I did get an email from because Tom Woods. If you go to his website, sign up for his email list, you will get an email about every day. And he's always got something interesting to discuss. But what he said was the school just backed off and said, okay, enough parents threw a fit. And they just, they're like, okay, our bad. He can come back to class with the, with the patch on his backpack. Because honestly, I guess the worst part was the teachers saying, that's tied to slavery. And then the mom's like, no, it's not. It's from the Revolutionary War. It's nothing to do with slave trade. Which either the teacher knows this is false and says it anyway, or she actually believes it. Either way, if she thinks that's true, or she lies to say that's what it is when she knows it's not, either way is terrible. And I've listened to Dave Smith's podcast, Part of the Problem. I listen to his show once in a while, and there's another one. What was the other one? Oh, and we was talking about Michael Malice. And Michael Malice made a statement that a lot of these people are teachers because, they just they can't do other jobs. So they become teachers. Now, I don't like painting with a broad brush and assuming that about every teacher, but I would say there is probably a considerable percentage of the population that maybe that's the way it is. And they're going to come in because it's their job. They're going to be handed a curriculum. They're not even going to think twice about what's in the curriculum. What are they teaching the kids? They're just going to spew it out and teach the kids enough to pass a standardized test so that the school will keep getting federal and state funding. And that's the state of education. Well, okay, there's two states of education. There's the indoctrination of the kids, and then there is the, we want you to be just smart enough to pass the standardized test so we can get our funding so we can indoctrinate the next generation after you. Because we'll pass you on through, 12 years of schooling. You'll come out with not much knowledge on history and the things that are really important because, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So that'll get, history, you don't need that. If you're white, you should feel guilty. You should want to pay reparations. And if you're a male, if you're a white, straight male, then you are the most evil being to ever walk the planet. If they put some of these white, whiny liberals in a classroom with a straight white male and a Tyrannosaurus Rex, I guarantee you that white, whiny liberal would be more afraid of me than the dinosaur. Even though I'm not going to eat them, and T-Rex definitely will, chomp, chomp, one bite, and they're gone. That's how off kilter they are. If you put one of those levels that carpenters use, they're going to be more than a half a bubble off. That's just kind of a joke. Oh, that guy's a half bubble off. They're way more than a half bubble off. We're talking like drunken leaning Tower of Pisa type construction upstairs. Everything slants to the left. And, here's the thing. Logic and liberal or lefty starts with the same letter. But beyond that, there are no ties between logic and leftism. The only common denominator between those two words is the first word of the letter. I don't even get into the rest of it. I know there's more. The I, leftist, logic. But after that, it's that's all there is. It's pretty scary actually when you think about it. It's kind of frightening. It's frightening when you see this many people saying this many stupid things. And you think to yourself, every day, I know I do. Every day, almost every day I wake up and I think, well, these people can't possibly say anything dumber than they already have. And guess what? Within a week, they'll prove me wrong. So the Gadsden flag patch on the backpack, that was definitely super dumb. Here's something else I want to... Now, I heard this... listen, folks, I know I mention a lot of podcasts. I listen to a variety of things. There's two constants I always listen to. Good Morning Liberty and the Tom Woods Show. But then I fill in gaps with the Ron Paul Liberty Report. And I also been filling in a lot of gaps in between episodes of Judge Napolitano's podcast, Judging Freedom. And the common theme here, folks, is as I go through this and I'm just talking about things, the common thing is this is why you pay attention to your local area. This is why you focus state down and you don't worry about the feds. Because when you have Mitt Romney and some others who basically, the way it sounds, they're absolutely fine with what's going on in Ukraine, even though like on, Andrew Napolitano's show, Judge's show there, they've spouted a ratio of 7 dead Ukrainian soldiers to 1 Russian soldier is the, that's the thing I've been hearing. The ratio, 7 Ukrainian soldiers killed compared to 1 Russian soldier killed. Now, you have people like Mitt Romney and some others, like they're totally fine because we're sending Russians home in body bags. What about the Ukrainians? if that ratio is correct, if it's 7-1, then, and I've heard numbers as high as 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers lost a month. They're on their reserves now, and when the reserves run out, they're screwed. And so, I mean, again, the people in D.C. clearly don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the people that uses cannon fodder in other countries to fight their wars for them. These what do they call them? Oh boy, now I'm blanking out here. These proxy wars. We're fighting one with Yemen. We're supplying Saudis with weapons, and the Saudis are blasting the hell out of Yemen, and now we're doing it with Ukraine. We have Ukraine fighting a proxy war against Russia. That's what our government is doing. I shouldn't say we. Our government is doing that. And that begs the question. Can you even call it, should we even call it our government anymore? Or should we just say the government? Because a lot of people say our government. I say it a lot myself. But sitting here now reflecting on what I've just spoke about, education and the war in Ukraine, should we call it our government? Because for a lot of us, our government, the representatives and the senators and the president and all the alphabet agencies clearly do not reflect our values. Because I would say left or right, for the most part. Now, everybody gets a little sentimental towards their own party. The left and the right are both. But I would imagine if you said, hey, if you walked up to a person, laid out the facts and said, you think it's cool that the government's just sacrificing 10,000 Ukrainians a month? If they heard, I don't think most people know that number because our media is not telling them the truth. I think if you went to people and said 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers a month are dying and they're on their reserves and the Russians still have a boatload, are you okay with our government sacrificing these people to fight a proxy war? I would imagine if they heard the real number, most of them would not. Now, we do have a lot of people who are cheerleaders for Trump or Biden. They're in their little cult world, and they're not thinking for themselves. And Jeff says, can you really trust those numbers? I don't know. This is Judge Napolitano's pretty straightforward, a very big liberty lover, and he has guys like General, I can't think of his name. You'll see him on Ron Paul's show too a lot. And Scott Ritter and some of these other guys, former intelligence, former military, and they're all saying about the same thing, about 10,000 a month. And so I'm thinking I would trust those numbers over what the media is saying, because the media is, for sure they're not saying 10,000 a month. But yeah, I don't think for the most part that the government in D.C. reflects most of our actual core values. Now, again, there are a lot of people who get wrapped up in stupid. This LGBTQ, then before that it was gay marriage, abortion, and all these issues. These one issues that people just wrap themselves up in one thing. And it hinders their ability to process what is real and what's not, what's truth and what's lies. But I think if you could really get to know somebody that's on the opposite side of the political spectrum, and you had a heart-to-heart and said, do you really think the sacrifice, they're going to tell you no. Most of them are going to say no. Now, will they say that out loud because they would upset their other liberal friends, or flip that around. They're Republican friends. No, they won't say that. They'll say it in the privacy of their own home. And that's in those private moments when they're speaking what they know to be true and they're leaving the emotion out of it. That's what's important. Now, I guess almost equally as important, if they would carry that behavior on, pass that information on to their friends on whatever side of the aisle they're on, political aisle they're on, and they would have an honest discussion. And I think however many number of people in that group would finally come, again, not being afraid of being judged by their liberal friends and calling a Putin sympathizer or whatever. If they had a heart to heart and there was no judgment, I think all those people would go, yeah, this really isn't okay. But again, we like to blame only the politicians a lot of times. We like to believe, we like to blame everything on them. But folks, there's a lot of people, and myself included years ago, I am a fully recovered lefty, okay? I used to be a Democrat. What's funny is most people that come to the small L libertarian side of things normally come from the right, and I am a complete opposite. I came from the left-hand side of the political aisle. But I don't know. Patrick says DC reflects the values of large corporations quite well. That is true. That is 100% correct. And we've heard this, and now we hear this everywhere. We hear this in this state. We hear this in DC. I've again, put my puke-proof clothes on and listened to Scott Vaughn's show a couple times. And I've heard this comment, run the government like a business. Not okay. What is a business's priority? A business's priority is to make money, to profit. The government should not ever be in the business of making money. So no, you don't run government like a business. You run it like a representative group of people who are there on the behalf of their constituents to preserve and protect liberty, not for the government to make a profit. Because what are they going to do with the profit? Are they going to return that? Are you going to get a bonus as an employee? Even though you're actually the employer, you're being treated as an employee. You're being treated as a resource because there's tax revenue to be made from you. Do you get a bonus from your employer, the state? No, of course not. What do they do with the profits? They trip all over themselves and about break their own necks to to spend it. And then they don't even spend it on things that make a difference, that make things better. They just blow it. You got, millions of dollars going to a park over the interstate in Kansas City. And then they're throwing all this money at this World Cup game and these World Cup games or whatever and stuff. It is... I don't know. It's terrible. It's just the fact that when I hear that slogan or I hear that sentence, that we got to run government like a business. I don't ever want to hear a rep, that maybe is from my district to ever utter those words. I don't want to hear that. But that's how it is. That's how things go. Yeah, Gary, I know you were over there in Rumble. No one else was there. Oh man, it'll be all right. But here's the thing, Gary. Last week's show. Okay. Last week's show with Catherine and Kirby. I just want everybody to know, okay? Because I think sometimes people are like, oh, I'm exaggerating. But check this out, okay? On the YouTube side for this show, on YouTube I have 203 subscribers, right? Last week's show has 41 views. Rumble, I'm up to 20 subscribers. Last week's show, 91 views. YouTube is definitely toying with my numbers. Now, I'm going to stay over there as long as I can until they get mad at me and kick me off. But by then, hopefully, I'll be established enough on Rumble that it won't make a difference. Yeah, I'll probably lose some subscribers, but I'll be settled in over here, and then I'll just stream to Rumble only. But I'm going to use both platforms for now. And then, like I said, when I really, really upset the YouTube cartel, and they say, well, you can't be on our, we're deplatforming you. Okay, that's fine. I'm over here on Rumble anyway. And I was going to switch exclusively to Rumble, but I thought, I haven't quite worn out my welcome with YouTube yet. So why not use both channels as a way to get the message of liberty out? So that's what I'm doing. And still, again, I don't know. I can't accurately tell how many views I'm getting on YouTube because the numbers aren't jiving. Again, 20 subscribers on Rumble, 91 views. 203 subscribers on YouTube, 41 views. But Rumble, I've more than doubled the views. So either YouTube is messing with my number or nobody can find me. Like I'm being, shadow banned. I don't know. Who freaking knows? I don't know. I'm just going to keep posting content until they get sick of me. Oh, yeah. Here's Warrior Class 3. Richard Blumenthal, senator from Connecticut. Americans should be satisfied that we're getting... That was the other thing. We're getting our money's worth on our Ukraine investment. What do you think they mean by that? Is it because they all have stocks in Raytheon and some of these other military contractors? And every time they buy something, their stock prices go up. Maybe they get dividends. Think maybe that's why? That's what, on the Democrat side, I can totally see that. I can see it on both sides. That they're fine with this because they're making boatloads of money off all the weapons sales. And this is what I mean by a government that does not care about you at all. They do not care. Not one bit. They are stealing money from us, sending it to corrupt government officials in another country, and then the government of the United States and the government of Ukraine is sacrificing thousands of human lives. They don't care. They don't care about us. They have their own personal interest, which is money and power. That's it. And that's why I keep saying, stop wasting energy thinking that you are going to change Washington, D.C., that you're going to elect people who will change Washington, D.C. Because you're not. I don't know how anybody can honestly say that we can still fix this. I don't know how you come to that conclusion that you can fix this. You got to have so much money. A lot of times, especially in these bigger areas, the Californias, the Illinois, the New Yorks, and those states are already so corrupt. And the majority of the people in that state so brainwashed, they only know they only know Democrats good, Republicans bad, and they put people in office that don't have more than 2 brain cells to rub together. And you can't get good, sound liberty lovers in Congress because, for the most part, unless you have a Thomas Massey or a Ron Paul, something like that, you're not going to get a liberty lover. Now, I mean, Eric Burleson may be doing quite well. Eric Schmidt may be doing okay. Are they Thomas Massey? It's hard to say. Thomas Massey is the diamond in the rough in D.C. But, again, do you think there's any possible way that we could ever fix Washington, D.C.? And I say, and I think I'm right, just watching the history of that bloated bureaucracy, I'm saying no. Patrick says, I'm applying for a government grant to study whether or not government actually cares for the people. I was refused the grant until I tied government not caring for the people to global warming. Yeah, that's probably the way it works. Or you could tie it to white supremacy. You could tie it to DEI or SEG, or ESG. You could tie it to any supremely insane program or whatever. The brainwash BS that flows from the mouths of idiots. If you tie those two things together and you can make a convincing argument, you definitely get the money. Now, of course, the outcome better reflect on all the BS that you said. Now, regardless, most of them wouldn't read the final results anyway, and the reports. And all the data, they wouldn't look at that. They would just go, oh, yeah, it's probably those darn white people. And because they don't want to drive electric cars, then, yeah, that's why we don't care about you. We care about the people who drive electric cars, and we care about the people who are environmentally sound and who thinks you can mutilate kids at 9, 10 years old. All those things. They'll be, oh yeah, yeah. That's why we don't like you. But in fact, they don't like any of us. They don't care until it's election time, and then they can tell all their big juicy lies and propagandize the hell out of the people. And then, oh, that's freaking awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's still talk about mask mandates in certain areas, and will they try lockdowns again? It's a very good possibility. And again, so why you have to pay attention in your state and your local area. And if you have a governor like we have, who's squishy, who plays the political winds, who is in fact a rhino and not really a conservative governor, then we have to be careful, because this is his last hurrah. He cannot run for governor anymore. Now, what he does afterwards, after this, after his time as a governor of Missouri, who knows? But I don't trust him. Now, it could have been a lot worse than what we had. But the automatic response should be, hey, I know where you can put your mandates and rules and suggestions and all that. I have a perfect spot for all those pieces of paper you're about to send to me. And that's where the sun don't shine. But again, we have to be very, 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 very careful and really watch the response. If they boost this up, if they amp this all up, amp up all the hype, get everybody just out of their freaking minds. Oh my God. Or trying to. I'm not saying that will happen, but trying to get people all worried about it. So be very, very, very careful, especially, if you live in St. Louis County, Jackson County, maybe around Columbia, Boone County, Springfield, Missouri area. You have to be careful around there because there's a higher concentration of just utter stupidity in those areas. And nothing pleases them more than a nice, healthy mandate or regulation or rule or, suggestion or recommendation or whatever word you want to insert in there. Oh, they love those. They do so love their mandates and recommendations because that means they're going to get more power. Even if it's just temporary, they get to tread a little harder on you. And that makes them really happy. Like I think if you ask some of these mayors, heads of health departments, especially people in unelected positions who don't have to answer to the people because it's not an elected position, it's an appointed position, they must really love these mandates because, man, they get to go around and gives them new things to enforce. They get to go to restaurants and tell them they have to close down, or it's, takeout orders only, or drive-through only, or you can only be at 25% capacity, or any of the other freaking crap that they pushed on people for 2.5 years. Or 2 years, however long. It was way too long. I don't know why people put up with it as long as they did. But they did. A lot of them did. But those people have to love that. To know that if these things are reinstated, they have all this power. And in my opinion, if this is the way they're going to be, then, I would think, oh man, I got the livelihoods of a lot of people in my hands right now. A simple mandate from me, or guidelines, or whatever you want to call it, from me, could literally destroy a business. I better think real hard what I'm going to do here. Or, do they do that? No. For the most part, they went, CDC says it, must be true. Bam. Tread harder. I don't know. It's disappointing. School board members are elected. Jeff says, like school board members are elected. You can oust them. You can show up, and then you can tell them, hey, if you don't stop it, I'll make sure you don't get reelected. You can fight hard to make sure they don't get elected. And you can gather information and say, hey, this is what they're doing. Why are they doing this? You can. Now, in our district, Jeff, they do like their power. The school boards do like their power. That is true. Now, in our district, you have to get ahead of, try to schedule yourself time. You get 3 minutes or something like that to speak in front of the board. You can't just show up and speak, which I think is a little ridiculous. That you have to schedule a time to talk to a board who works for you. I don't think that's I don't think that's okay. But it doesn't seem to bother them. And what it does is it dissuades people from getting in front of them and speaking the truth. And maybe, just maybe, they don't want to hear the truth. I don't know if they'd let some of us even get up in front of the board and speak anymore after we defeated that school bond. I don't know if they'll I don't know if they'll want us talking in front of them. Oh, I'm sure they thought some pretty nasty things about some of us here in Owensville, and I don't have any feelings. You can't hurt my feelings. You can think all the horrible things about me that you want. But in the end, a group of people got together, decided to fight this with some help from some other friends, and the school did not get to get $15 million worth of money in a town with under 2,000 people. So, joke's on you, fools. You may not like me, and you may not like the rest of us that banded together and did this, but you got to admit we were effective. We got things accomplished. And sometimes, folks, that's what it's all about. It's not always about getting bills through. It's not always about getting laws passed to reinforce or protect or to gain back freedoms. Sometimes the battle is stopping the bad stuff. A school bond. A horrible IP reform bill. Things like that. Sometimes you have to fight the other way. Sure, I mean, we'd love to just work on bills all the time that got more freedom and liberty back, but you know, we do have a lot of lawmakers that are a couple sandwiches short of a picnic, and they get some really brain dead ideas floating around in that skull of theirs, and then they have somebody put it on paper and they try to make it into law. And so we have to spend our time defeating that when, in essence, we could be trying to gain more freedom and liberty back, trying to keep more of our own, the money that we earn, or a myriad of things. But instead, we have to focus our energy on defeating lame-brained ideas from lame-brained politicians. And that's just the unfortunate fact of the world. But hey, you know, this is a responsibility that everyone has when you live, or you're supposed to be living, in a free country. You have a responsibility to protect your freedom. You have a responsibility to protect and uphold your liberties. And you also have a responsibility to hold representatives and senators and governors and mayors and aldermen and all these other people, all these elected positions, holding them accountable for their actions. And sometimes, folks, you will have to be the one that runs for alderman or mayor or rep or senator or some elected position, because you nobody else will do it, and you take the risk. You get involved even more. I will admit, I have considered running for state rep in my district. I consider doing it next year, but now that would make it a three-way race, and that would be really hard to overcome that, to get enough of the vote to win that primary or whatever in order to be, considered for election in November. I think if someone else hadn't have already said that they were going to run, I would have given it a lot of consideration. Now, would I have won? Let's be honest, probably not, right? Because if I'm invited to these meet and greets or these little these little get-togethers they have where you get to meet the candidates and you have these forums, I'm going to say things that are going to make the other guy really uncomfortable. and I'm going to say things I'm going to say things to people that are going to make just the audience uncomfortable. I smacked the crap out of my mic. But the other part of me wants to run for really one reason, and that is to go in there to these Meet the Candidate things and get up there and talk about the things that the other guys don't. Like IP reform, getting rid of the personal property tax, getting rid of the income tax, some of the leadership at the Capitol. There's a lot of things that the candidates in my area probably are going to talk about. What they're going to talk about is farming and maybe conservation and things like that, but they're going to get down to the real. Now, farming is an important issue. But let me give you an example of how I would like to just kind of slide some stuff in there to make people think. That would be my goal, to make people look at the guy who's already, is currently our rep who will be running for re-election, I'm sure, and going, yeah, why didn't you vote for that? Or why aren't we doing this? And that's, because they're going to bring up farmers. There's a lot of rural area around here, a lot of family farms and stuff. Farming's going to come up. And this is what I would like to do. I would like to say, hey, I am also pro-farmer. But you know what else? I would like to get rid of the personal property tax because, in my opinion, if you're pro-farmer, you would want to try to take off as much economic burden from those people as you possibly can. And what better way to do that to eliminate the personal property tax? Not only are we helping the family farms, we're helping small businesses, we're helping low, middle and high income people. Everybody will be affected positively by the removal of this immoral tax. And that's what I would do. I would just go in there and lay down. I would like to speak last just to hear about some of the topics that they would bring up. So then if I'm speaking last, I can get up there and go, yeah, about that. What about X, Y, and Z? Just to stir the pot. Just to stir the pot. Because sometimes, now I'm not saying I'm a great speaker because I'm not. I haven't done it a whole lot. But sometimes all it takes is, now, and also, please don't confuse me. I am not comparing myself to Ron Paul, but I'm saying an example. When Ron Paul ran in 2008 and 2012, he got his message brought a lot of people to the liberty movement. And all I'm saying is sometimes running for office and stating things, stating facts, pointing out the hypocrisy, you may get a few people that go, oh, wait a minute. Never thought about that. Or I was unaware of that. And you get some momentum. You get other people involved. You get them stirred up to ask questions and demand more of their elected representatives. And I would consider that a win. If I could get two people the whole time, two people to go, hey, man, what's the deal here? What are we doing? Who do I call? I would consider that a win because that's two people that would not have been as involved or questioning as much as they had been. Again, I'm not a great speaker. I don't get up in front of crowds and be like, "Grr!" and everybody's clapping and hooping and hollering. No, that's not me. I'm not I'm not Ron Paul or some of these other guys who can just get up and get a crowd just going ballistic. But it would be fun. It would be fun to get out my big old wooden spoon and stir the pot. And that's kind of what we have to do. Sometimes, this sounds childish or petty, but it's true. Sometimes you can derive great pleasure from stirring the pot because you got people thinking. You get them amped up. and they want answers. And they want to know what's going on. You can really derive some real, a lot of fun from stirring the pot sometimes. And, hey, I mean, why? At this point in time, folks, you have to do something. Again, I know I spoke about this last week, but waiting for Donald Trump or, Biden or Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas or Nikki Haley or whoever to fix your problems for you does not happen. One person going, it doesn't matter, one person going to Jefferson City is not going to change everything. But going to D.C. as one person in the Oval Office and abiding by the powers given to you by the Constitution, you cannot change anything. Again, now, you get a real liberty lover who's going to stick to the guns. They can veto law after law after law. Just bills coming through like, nope. They can do that. And that could have a positive impact. But a person going in and reversing the flow of the crap river to go back upstream is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And I still see it all the time. You get on your thing and it's Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump. This is how you know when a system is aligned against you. When the media is pushing the names, basically, of two people. That's the way they want those two people running, and because they know they can beat one guy, and their guy gets to stay in power, and they're literally emotionally hurting people into a corner. They're hurting him. They're hurting the right to Trump, and of course the left to Biden. And you get people in the middle who anyone with Trump. And listen, I'm not going to make an excuse for Trump. I've already been through this whole thing. Not excusing anything he did. I don't want to see him elected either. But I sure as hell don't want to see Biden in office at the same time. But you can clearly see that people are being pushed in those two directions. That there is an agenda about who is going to be nominated. And they're doing every freaking thing in their power they can to get Trump, as the nominee. Because they beat him once, and they'll beat him again. If you're a Trump supporter, I hate to bust your bubble, but if Trump gets the nomination, he's going to get wrecked again in the general election in November of 2024. I'm just saying. We can do better. So maybe, instead of you taking all your anger and just focusing all that energy on getting Trump elected, you go and you get involved in state politics, local politics, county politics. You focus that energy right there. Much closer to you, much easier for you to have an actual effect on what's going on around you. That is my suggestion. That will continue. I just don't see anywhere in the future where I go, yeah, we should really start focusing on the federal government again. Because I've seen examples of what a group of people can do walking the Capitol. And I know that if the same group of people went to D.C. and tried to do what we did, we'd get flat out lied to by every single person, basically. Heck, we probably wouldn't even be able to see most of them because we wouldn't have a check in our hand. So, I don't think I'm ever going to go back to Let's Fix D.C. I used to be in that train. I used to be on that school of thought. But not anymore. I have given up on that. I have seen the light. I got the memo. And the memo says, you ain't fixin' diddly squat. So, yeah. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents, folks. I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot. I've been wrong many, many times. I know it. I know I've been wrong a lot in my life, and I have people around me that'll let me know. And that's the way it should be. People shouldn't let me walk around thinking that something is true when it is untrue. I want people to correct me. If I'm wrong, I want people to correct me, because I'm here giving you information, and I really don't want to give out faulty information. Now, again, I know right now this is just monologue. This is me just throwing things around and tossing ideas, topics around, because, again, I had no guests this week, and I was like, well, let's just do this. And sometimes it's nice just to get on and blow off some steam, I mean, sometimes that's just, you have to get your therapy in. But before I end the show, because we're just going to do an hour tonight. It's been a long week. My duties as a backup shop steward have had me running around and busier than a one-legged man at a butt-kicking contest. And so mentally, I'm just frazzled. But I want to say something else, because we see that, like Catherine and Kirby have started a podcast, and it's doing very, very well. Rogue Politics. And we see, groups, the Missouri Freedom Initiative has a live stream almost every Saturday at 7:30 on Odyssey, and they will be, I believe they're going to Rumble. So, but folks, if you think you can do it, and you have something, it can just be one topic, but you're really knowledgeable on it. What we need is more freedom voices out there. And I'm telling you, you want to start a podcast, you let me know. I will help guide you in any way I can. I will help you out in any way I can. Whether it's what kind of equipment you'll need or software, whatever, let me know. I will help you out the best I can, because I want to see more and more and more of these liberty lovers come out with shows and podcasts, maybe get some radio time somewhere, whatever. And in Missouri would be great. That would just be a bonus for me. But it doesn't matter what state you live in. I want to see more people pushing the message of freedom and liberty out. It doesn't matter. You want to start out on YouTube, or you want to go to Odyssey, you want to go to Rumble. It doesn't matter. Or if you just want to do podcast only, it doesn't matter. Just get the message out. We need so much. We do need a lot more people, and we want a lot more people to start a podcast and really get out there and voice their concerns about what's going on in the world around them. And again, it could be federal, it could be state, it could be local, it could be county. It doesn't matter. If it affects people's freedom and liberty, and you want to talk about it, I would ask that you please do so. Because there's been a lot of new podcasts coming out, a lot of people doing great things, but it never hurts to have more voices out there. It never hurts to have more people talking about things that actually affect you and I, pointing out the hypocrisy of the representative body, or what's supposed to be a representative body, and letting you know exactly who's doing what and how you're being lied to, or whatever. But we really, really need more people in the liberty movement doing radio, podcasts, live streams, or all the above. Whatever you can do, even if it's a half an hour a week. Okay. You don't have to do one every day. You don't have to do an hour. You don't have to do 2 hours. Half an hour a week. Relatively painless. But get that, make your voice be heard. Folks, we need it. And it's not just nationwide, but in each state needs voices of reason They need people who are capable of critical thinking, who are mission driven, and who really care about what happens not just to themselves but those around them, and trying to affect or enact positive things for everybody equally, like the Constitution would demand that you do. But, you know, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see people getting on board with that if they can, if they have the ability. You don't have to have fancy equipment. I'm telling you, you can do, if you're just going to do a podcast, you don't have to have anything fancy. You can have a decent laptop and a headset mic and create a show. Again, if anybody's thinking about doing it, just let me know. Hit me up. I will try to help you as much as I can, because not only do I want to see people do this, I want them to succeed. Just like Catherine and Kirby. They are knocking it out of the freaking park, and nothing makes me happier. And I want to see that compounded. I want to see that a lot more. All right, folks, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Don't forget, next week I will not be doing a live stream. I'll be at Senator Eigel's official campaign kickoff event. I will try to live stream that. I am also trying to get in touch with a media person to get 5 minutes with Senator Eigel after his speech to do a short interview, which if I can get that done, I will post it on YouTube. I will be back September 15th with Tom Martz from the Lock and Smith Foundation. The following week will be Kim Swartz and Michelle Latham to talk about the WF and other things educational. Take care. All right, guys, I know that's a short thing tonight, but like I said, this week's been, and it's just all work. It's been nuts. I have filled in a lot. Well, I filled in several times as a backup shop steward. The last 2 weeks have been insane. The amount of times I've been called out to another part of the plant to help somebody. Sometimes it's kind of short. Sometimes it takes 4 days of trying to get a hold of somebody. Not all day, but just taking time out of my day trying to get a hold of somebody to get a situation resolved. So, yeah, it's been not so fun. But anyway, with that being said, again, next week I hope to live stream Senator Eigel's event, and hopefully I can get him 5 minutes, 10 minutes for an interview to talk about his campaign. Get him talking quickly about a couple issues and things that he wants to work on. But I will try to get that done. If not, if I just record it, I'll post it on Saturday or Sunday and put it up on YouTube and Rumble so that everybody can kind of see it. But I am hoping to live stream from that event on Friday. So hopefully you got good service out there right around the St. Charles area. Shouldn't be a big deal. And be able to, get that done. So with that being said, thanks for joining me, everybody, this week. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks right here on the Missouri Liberty Report. Take care, everybody.